When you walk up to the vehicle with the key, it does have the full proximity key, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't sense anything. It senses the key because it turns on the interior lights, but it doesn't turn on exterior lights. Nothing like that. Now, when you hit the unlock button, it basically just turns on the interior lights. There's no safety lights or approach lights or anything like that. It does have an off switch, so you can turn off all the exterior lights if you want them to turn off with the vehicle running, so that's good. Well, let's turn the parking lights on. The parking lights are here in the front are these really nice white LED lights, and basically they're not overly bright, so you're not going to mistake those as headlights, but they look really good. They're kind of like the daytime running lights, I suppose, but yeah, they kind of have a nice accent and just overall design. Also, there's an amber side marker here in the front that's illuminated. There's a red side marker here in the back, and it kind of connects with the tail lights, which look pretty good. LED tail lights. And once again, they kind of have a style to them, a little bit of a design. And they are red in color. Camera kind of makes them a little bit orange, but they are red. And the tag lights also shine on the ground, kind of helping serve as a approach light, which is pretty cool. Now the reverse lights and brake lights are back here as well, of course. You can take a look at them. Turn signal here in the front. It's quite bright. It's an amber in color here in the front. And it's right here, kind of sandwiched between these white daytime running lights. And they look pretty neat. They look really good. LED, of course. There's also a turn signal indicator in amber here on the side. It's not very bright. You can barely see it during the day. But it's here on the side mirror. You can see it from the front, the side, and the back. It's a little bit brighter here from the back view. And the turn signal indicator here in the back is amber, and it's in the middle of that red portion. And it's quite bright. So there is the low beams there. Fog lights, there's the difference there in the fog lights. It gives you light closer to the vehicle here. All right, there's the high beams, there's the low beams. And we'll look at it going down the road. But let's take a look at it. So these are actually like directional, so they'll move when you turn the steering wheel. The fog lights are a reflector LED here at the bottom, and then the headlights are in a bifunction, or actually it's more than that, but it's an LED projector, and it's for the low and the high beams. And the low beams they have a clear cutoff, so you can see right up here it's not even shining on the camera at all, but as I dip down about 2.5 feet off the ground, you can see they're quite bright. So the cutoff is about 2.5 feet off the ground. It avoids, blinding other drivers. That's the intention anyway. And the directional, as we drive, you'll see what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and turn on the high beams. The fog lights turn off when you turn on the high beams. And from this angle, basically looks about the same, because it's the same projector headlight that's illuminated. So it's basically just refocused and in a higher position. So you can see they're higher up. So the cutoff, it's not much. There's no real cutoff to speak of in the same sense as before. Cargo area. When you lift up the lift gate here, those lights from the tag don't shine on the ground anymore. Wish they did. Wish there was some lights here on the ground. But the cargo area has one light right here, not very bright, and you can see there's lots of shadows over here and everywhere. So the more stuff you put in the middle, the more shadows are cast there. Also right here, it's just not illuminated very well at all. So this is a very poor lighting design, I think. If you had one on each side, maybe one underneath the lift gate, something like that would be better. But this is just, I guess, bare minimum. You have a light, and that's about it. Inside of the back door, the only illumination is just the power window switch. The pockets are completely dark, all that stuff completely dark. There's no lights on no puddle light, no approach light, nothing like that. The back seat is kind of dimly lit with this dome light, which is not very bright. And you see there's a lot of shadows here, and the floorboard area is not illuminated. And there is some charge ports back here that are illuminated. You can see right there, there's no pockets or anything else, so that's it. Inside of the front door, same thing, don't have much illumination, just no lights in the pocket or anything. All the switches are illuminated though, backlit illuminated. No lights in the floorboard, and the lights here in the front coming from this center ones and the dome light there. And it does a decent job here in the front. So I have the interior lights on and with the door open, so you can see what it looks like here. The lights are quite warm, the interior lights. They seem to be a little bit on the warm side. So now with the interior lights off, we're left with the backlit buttons here on the door in red. Little scroll wheel to the left of the steering wheel is also illuminated in red. Steering wheel buttons though are white, which is nice. Kind of breaks up the red color with other colors here. There's the gauges. Here's the big screen with some buttons around it. This compartment here is illuminated where you have the wireless charger. Also USB ports and auxiliary input, all backlit, which is nice. And the little scroll wheel here to the left of the steering column. Let's go ahead and cycle through that. So that's the lowest, next, 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 and the highest right there. So it kind of has this like stepped. It's not like a free-flowing wheel. It kind of steps up and down. So right in there, just right up below the brightest is good for me. All right, so I'm gonna have to turn on the interior light here because this area here is dark, and then the cup holders are dark. You do have some backlit buttons here. This compartment also is dark as well. Glove compartment does have a very dim light. Turn off the interior lights here so you can see it's very dim, but it does have a light in there. No lights in the floorboard or anything like that. And then these are basically tap lights. You basically touch the actual lens there to turn on the interior light. Now their interior lights can be you have this button over here. You have some dark buttons. It's completely dark. So let me just, even with the interior lights on, it's just I can't see them. All right, so, okay. Hopefully you can see that now. That's for the sunroof. The buttons there for the sunroof are dark. You also have the switch for the interior light to turn on with the door is completely dark. So you can keep that in mind. Also, there's like a little spot right here for, it looks like an ambient light would shine there, but it's not shining. And then the visor has a single light with a mirror. It opens up with the door, so as you open it up, it turns it on. Same thing on the other visor. So the dome light here in the center, let me see if I can show you here. So right over here, not these lights here in the front, but the one here in the center, the dome light, has a switch, which is also not illuminated. So this switch has on, off, or turns on with the door in the center position. It's not clear and it's not seen at nighttime. So the switches that you would use at night to operate the lights are not illuminated. So keep that in mind as far as a design standpoint. So you can see the pattern hopefully here on this fence. There's actually, the lights will move, but there's like a little bit of a blind spot that's supposed to line up with oncoming traffic, and we'll see how well that works as we drive. It's like a little shadow spot that's below the actual cutout, the cutoff area there. So you can see the cutoff on this car. You can see it's below the windshield. And the movement of the headlights, to me, doesn't really add a lot. But, you know, that's just kind of the way it's made. Now, some people might like that. I mean, the movement of the headlights, you can see them moving right there. And as we drive, you'll see them moving back and forth. And they just appear to, it seems like a little gimmicky, but, you know, there might be scenarios in which they might be useful. But for me, it just doesn't really seem to add much. All right, so that person just flashed me, so I wonder if the headlights are adjusted properly, because that sometimes happens. Okay, so you can see that little shadow on the road to the left. So that's supposed to line up with the oncoming traffic. So, but you can see the cutoff as we're going up and down the hill. That cutoff is a little bit high there. So, you know, it's one thing to have a cutoff, but if it's not lined up properly, then it might be an issue. We'll see if that's an issue with somebody else. Now, back there I was accelerating, so it's kind of lifting the front of the car up a little bit. But with bright LED headlights, you definitely want to have them adjusted properly so they're not, you know, blinding other drivers. So you can see the movement of the headlights here. You can see this, like, to me, it just, I don't know, doesn't really add much, but I guess it depends on the environment. You know, like some people are on a really twisty, like a mountain road or something, where you're going up and down, twisting and turning and all that. That might be useful for that scenario. It's just the environment I'm in that just doesn't seem to add much. Okay, so here we are in a dark road. So there's the high beams. And we'll go back to low beams here. Now we're dealing with a single projector on each side, so just keep that in mind. So you can see it, we're not getting any brighter, we're just shifting the lights up. So you can see right there, and I can see the road fine, and it seems to be fairly evenly distributed on the road, which is kind of surprising. Because with two lights, they're able to overlap enough to where it's not very patchy. So I think it did a pretty good job, actually. Not the brightest headlights, but as far as like being able to see at night, this looks pretty good. Now this particular road has, you know, the trees off from the road pretty good, so you can see the potential distance there is, hopefully you can see how well the visibility is at nighttime. But like I said, the brightness isn't all that great, but it's still adequate. You can still see it's not a problem. But if you're accustomed to brighter headlights, you know, I mean, I've seen a lot of different headlights, and these are just a little bit dimmer than other ones I've seen. But still, considering it's just one projector, I think the handle of the light pattern and the just makes the visibility pretty good, you know. So we're turning just slight turns here, and the headlights are moving slightly, but seems to work okay. Let me know what you think in the comments though. Now it does have the automatic high beams, and they seem to work okay. I mean, so far with my experience. I had them off a second ago, but turned them back on so that way I can keep an eye on that technology, make sure it's working properly. Yeah, we're getting a lot of flashing going on here with the automatic high beams. We're already flashing cars, even at low speeds. Not a good sign.